Hello. Well, it's week 2 of homeschooling after the Easter break here in the UK. And I don't know about you, but last week seems to have been chaotic for pretty much everybody, really, judging by the WhatsApp messages that were going around through my school's groups and messages on Facebook and my own personal experience. I know that by the end of Monday, I was ready to tear my hair out. Hopefully things have settled for everyone a little bit more, but I thought it might be useful to just have a little chat about some of the things that we can do and some of the attitude shifts that we can make to make this whole experience much more enjoyable, dare I say, for everybody, and certainly to help us keep our sanity during this time. Because that's the thing really, isn't it? This isn't going to last forever. But it is a very difficult moment in time that doesn't come with a manual, even for the teachers. And we're all trying to kind of make it up as we go along and figure out what works and what doesn't. And so I think it's really helpful to just share some of the things that we found so that we can all guide our way through each other and help each other out. Because at the end of the day, our kids can make things up academically. You know, if they've missed out on something when school goes back and everything, they will be able to get extra help to bring them back to wherever they need to be. And every kid is going to go back to school at a different level, and those teachers are going to have a real job being able to fathom where everybody is and get people onto the same page. But what's harder to fix is the emotional and mental well-being of a child or even of yourself. So concentrating on that, really making sure that that's our priority, is really going to help everyone through this time. There's a huge amount of fear and anxiety and disbelief and shock and all of those things going on outside, and we want our homes to be as loving as possible, to be as much of a sanctuary as possible, and if at all possible, so that we can look back on this time as time that we spent well together with our loved ones. And for that, we have to make sure that homeschooling is not a sort of stressful, huge issue, but something that we can manage going through the process. So today's video is looking at how we can help our children through this process. And then the next one will be looking at parents and how we ourselves can stay sane during the entire time. So in relation to our children, I think it's worth recognizing a few things. Firstly, that this is a difficult and traumatic time for them, and that just as we need to figure out what works for us as a family and what works for us as parents, we need to figure out what will work for them. And each child is different. My youngest has online schooling, which is great and which works really well for her. And she's, up at 8:30 in the morning and she's on her computer and she's got lessons through till 2:30, 3 o'clock with built-in breaks, and that works really well. She responds well to that structure. My eldest doesn't have that. Her work is posted and she is left to get on with it. Now, when we spoke to her about, following her usual timetable or putting together something that might work, she really kicked back. For her, that's really stressful. And we're very lucky, she's very self-reliant. So we've been able to come to an arrangement whereby she just gets on with it. We don't ask her, what are you doing now? And isn't it time for you to be learning? But at the end of the day, we can discuss what's been achieved, what's remaining. We can look at that work if we need to. So each individual child is different. Their needs are different according to what age they are, what stage they are, how that homework is being shared. And listening to our children and allowing them to have some kind of control over their structure is going to be enormously beneficial for everyone. Now, just recognize too a couple of things. Firstly, if you're as old as I am or close to that, school isn't like it was in our day, right? When I was at school, we went in, we sat at our desks, we had a teacher at the front telling us all about things, and we would write it down in our books and, you know, maybe have a little bit of talking to the person next to us, but that was it. School nowadays is far more fluid. There is far more working outside or using live examples or resorting to videos or films or chatting in groups and so on. So just recognize that and allow your child's learning to mimic that. Know that if they are watching something online, if they are outside doing something, if they're baking, that's an opportunity to involve some maths maybe, or as well as being creative. There are other ways to learn, so just be open to those possibilities. And similarly, our children do not go to school at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning and work solidly through till 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Because they are moving through classrooms, because they have built-in break times, and just because of the way that the day is structured and they learn nowadays, the actual learning time doesn't translate to home learning in terms of sitting at your desk and working away. Now, in the first week of the schooling, there were lots of WhatsApp messages on my eldest daughter's chat about the volume of work that was being set and how they were supposed to get through it. And the school very quickly sent out a message that said, look, just stop. For year 7s, which is what my daughter is, we expect them to be doing no more than 3 hours a day. Now, for us, we might go, well, 3 hours is nothing, that's a morning. But actually, an awful lot can be done in 3 hours that are broken down into proper sections if they concentrate in that time. So just managing expectations, giving them a little bit more fluidity and trusting them where appropriate to get things done is going to make life an awful lot easier. Now, you may have some very stringent rules at home around working online or having access to online materials and so on, or using iPads and so on. May I encourage you to just relax those a little bit, partly for your own sanity. You're not saying that they're going to be able to be online all day, every day, or indeed that, you know, if you allow them a bit more flexibility now, that that's going to continue after the lockdown is over. But right now, allow them to be online a bit more, particularly as this is the way that they are able to socialise. They're going to be missing their friends, and they work with friends. I stood outside my youngest door the other day and I heard her chatting to her friend about a maths problem. And my first instinct was to barge in and sort of say, well, why are you doing this together? You should be working on your own. Can't you do this math, blah, blah, blah. But I managed to stop, yay me, and I listened. And what I found was that she was talking to her friend about the problem and saying, well, how did you get to that answer? Well, this is what I did. And then between them, they figured out where one of them had gone wrong and they came to the solution. And in doing that, my daughter was able to learn more than if I had stood over her or insisted that she did it on her own. So allowing that interaction, allowing them to work together is going to make your life an awful lot easier. And it's going to be a nicer way of learning for them and allow them to have those social interactions that they need right now. Whether it's one-on-one or a few of them via house party, it's just going to be a much better and more positive way of their learning, which is going to be a win for everyone, isn't it? So there's a few points in here. I hope they all help. And look out for the next video where we're going to talk about preserving your own sanity, which is just as important. And until then, as always, have fun, be safe, be well, and be kind.